Welcome, brave souls, to Into the Crawl Space, the channel where we dive deep into the hidden, the eerie, and the unknown. I'm Bates, your guide through the shadows, and together we'll explore chilling tales, spine-tingling mysteries, and the secrets lurking beneath our feet. So grab your flashlight, because you never know what you might find lurking in the dark. It was supposed to be a weekend of laughter and carefree fun. 4 friends, Jess, Mark, Sarah, and I set off to a secluded cabin deep in the woods, excited for a break from our hectic lives. The air was crisp and the leaves crunched under our feet. When we reached the cabin, its rustic charm enveloped us like a warm blanket. It was perfect, or so we thought. The first night was everything we hoped for. We drank by the fire, sharing stories and laughter that echoed into the dark. As the flames crackled, we played cards, and I remember feeling invincible, wrapped in the comfort of friendship. The world outside felt far away, forgotten. But that sense of safety shattered when Mark stumbled upon a hidden door behind a tattered old curtain in the living room. "Hey, check this out," he called, curiosity lighting up his eyes. We gathered around the faint outline of a door barely visible in the dim light. My heart raced with a mix of excitement and unease. With a creak that seemed to echo through the cabin, Mark pulled the door open, revealing a dark, narrow staircase leading down into the cellar. "Should we?" Jess asked, biting her lip. "It could be dangerous. Or it could be fun," I said, trying to mask my own apprehension. "Let's see what's down there." We descended the stairs, the air growing colder with each step. The darkness enveloped us, and I felt an unfamiliar chill crawling up my spine. At the bottom, we discovered a small, dusty room filled with old furniture and cobwebs. My flashlight flickered as I scanned the space, revealing a few forgotten items, a cracked mirror, a broken chair, and an old trunk in the corner. Mark moved to the trunk, eager to open it, but just as he reached for the latch, a soft whimper echoed through the cellar. It was a child's voice. "Help me," it whispered, hauntingly faint. My blood ran cold. "What was that?" Sarah asked, her voice trembling. "Probably just the wind," I said, but I could feel the tension in the air. "Let's get out of here," Jess urged, glancing nervously around. But curiosity held us in place like moths to a flame. As the night wore on, strange noises filled the cabin. The sound of footsteps echoed in the hallway, and whispers danced around us, growing louder and more insistent. "Help me," the child's voice called again, now filled with urgency. Panic gripped me, but the others seemed entranced, leaning closer to the source of the voice. "Guys, this isn't funny. We should go back upstairs," I insisted. But they just stood there, staring into the darkness, faces blank. A cold dread settled in my gut. Then Mark spoke, his voice low and raspy. "The butcher is coming. We have to hide." He looked at us with wide, hollow eyes as if he were no longer my friend but a stranger. "Mark, what are you talking about?" I asked, my heart racing. "The butcher," he repeated, staring into the shadows. "He'll take us away." The unease escalated. One by one, my friends began to withdraw. They would mutter to one another in hushed tones, their expressions vacant, as if they were sharing secrets I couldn't hear. I felt increasingly isolated, a voyeur in my own life. That night, while the others huddled in a corner, whispering, I crept upstairs, desperate for a moment of clarity. The cabin felt different now, hostile, as if the walls themselves were closing in. I sat on the porch, trying to calm my racing heart, but sleep didn't come. I was jolted awake by a shrill scream from below. I rushed down, panic surging through me. The cellar door stood ajar, shadows flickering at its edges. "Mark!" I shouted, but my voice fell flat against the walls. As I descended, the whispers grew louder, enveloping me like a thick fog. "Help me!" the child's voice begged, more desperate than before. "The butcher is here." I reached the cellar, my flashlight beam dancing across the walls. Jess stood there, eyes wide with terror, her hands trembling. "Where's Mark?" I demanded. "He's gone," she said, her voice barely a whisper. He went to find the boy. Fear gripped me. "What do you mean, gone?" "We need to leave." But before she could respond, a thud echoed through the cellar, followed by a low, menacing laugh that seemed to vibrate through the very floor. My breath hitched in my throat. The butcher was here. As if in a trance, Jess turned toward the dark corner of the room, her eyes fixated on something I couldn't see. "He's coming," she murmured, her voice filled with dread. I shook her, trying to bring her back to reality. "Jess, we need to get out." But she stared past me, her face paling. Suddenly, Sarah appeared from the shadows, her expression eerily calm. "The boy needs our help," she said, almost dreamlike. "We can't leave him." "No!" I yelled, backing away. He's not real. It's a trick. But the two of them moved toward the darkness, arms outstretched, as if reaching for something just out of sight. I felt a cold hand grip my heart, an overwhelming sense of loss. In that moment, I realized the terrible truth. One by one, they were slipping away, becoming part of whatever malevolent force haunted this cellar. As I turned to escape, I heard the laughter again, closer this time. You can't leave, it taunted. You belong here with us. Panic surged within me as I fled up the stairs, my heart pounding in my ears. I bolted through the door and slammed it shut behind me. Leaning against it, I gasped for breath, my mind racing. I couldn't comprehend the horror unfolding in that cellar. My friends were gone, my beloved Jess, Mark, and Sarah, swallowed by a darkness I could hardly fathom. I dashed to the car, fumbling with the keys, desperate to put distance between me and whatever evil lurked in the cabin. But as I glanced back, my stomach dropped. A figure stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the dim light. It was Mark, but his eyes were hollow, an unsettling smile stretching across his face. "Help me," he whispered, his voice no longer his own. "The butcher is coming." I stumbled back, dread flooding my veins. I finally managed to start the car, my hands shaking as I gripped the wheel. Before I could pull away, a chorus of whispers surrounded me, voices mingling together, begging for release. "Don't leave us!" they cried, desperation thick in their tones. "Help us!" With tears streaming down my face, I slammed the gas pedal and sped down the dirt road. But the darkness of the cabin loomed behind me, and the feeling of being watched pressed against my chest like a vice. The headlights caught something in the rearview mirror, a glimmer of movement. The shadows danced, and suddenly figures began to appear along the road. Spectral shapes that glided silently. I felt a lump rise in my throat as I realized they were my friends, their faces twisted in agony, mouths open in silent screams. "No!" I screamed, pressing harder on the accelerator, but the car began to sputter, the engine gasping for breath. "Come back!" I pleaded, but they only stared at me, their expressions blank, eyes reflecting a deep, haunting sorrow. The car lurched and stalled, shuddering to a stop. I was trapped. With nowhere to go, I scrambled to open the door, but the whispers grew louder, surrounding me, an orchestra of cries echoing in my mind. "The butcher will take you," a voice said, chilling and cold, sending a shiver down my spine. I turned to see him emerging from the shadows, an imposing figure with a grotesque grin, wielding a bloodied cleaver that glinted in the moonlight. His eyes burned with a cruel hunger. "No, please," I begged, backing away as he slowly stepped toward me, the whispers growing into a frenzy around me. I could feel my friend's presence, a weight pressing against my heart, urging me to stay. In that moment, I understood the horror. There was no escape. The butcher was not just a man, he was the embodiment of the darkness that had claimed them, a twisted spirit that thrived on fear and despair. I was not leaving the cabin, it was dragging me into its depths. As the butcher closed in, my vision blurred, welled with tears. "Help us!" echoed through my mind, the voices of my friends merging into a haunting chorus. They were no longer just memories, they were a part of the dark fabric of the cellar, and I was about to join them. With a final anguished scream, I felt the butcher's cold, lifeless hand grip my arm, pulling me into the shadows. The last thing I heard was their desperate pleas, melding with his laughter as everything faded to black. And in that suffocating darkness, I was lost. Just another whisper in the cellar, another victim of the butcher's insatiable hunger, forever trapped in the haunted echoes of my friends. And that wraps up our exploration for today. What did you think of the hidden horrors we uncovered? Let me know in the comments below. Remember, the crawl space holds many secrets, and we've only just scratched the surface. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more spine-chilling stories and explorations. Until next time, keep your lights on and your curiosity alive. Who knows what might be waiting just around the corner or beneath the floorboards?